mention disbanding scientific advisory committees and telling federal government scientists to omit the words climate change from their work. And the list goes on. On the other hand, it is right to charge ahead full speed toward 100% clean renewable energy. It is right to protect habitats and species. It is right to hold corporations accountable. It is right to ensure a just transition, leaving no one behind as we transform our economies and societies. It is right to enact strong government policies that will accelerate this transformation. We need a Green New Deal! But let's be clear, youthful moral clarity is not the same thing as naivete. Don't let anyone tell you that it is. It is naive to focus only on what we can do as individuals instead of what we can do together in community. It is naive to assume that the needs of poor communities, communities of color, and indigenous peoples will be taken care of unless we ensure that they are prioritized. It is naive to expect that governments and corporations will do the right thing without our insistence. So we must persist in our insisting because remember, they work for us. It is naive to think we can solve or stop climate change. We have already made way too much of a mess. But it is also naive to give up when every 1/10 of a degree of warming, every centimeter of sea level rise, every species we save, every increasingly unnatural disaster we avert, all matter so very much. And we already have all of the solutions we need, from regenerative farming to renewable energy to replanting ecosystems to electrifying transportation. We don't need to wait for new technologies. We just need to get to it. Where national governments fail to step up, local, city, and state actions are even more important. At the same time as we work to erase the political and corporate barriers, we can implement the solutions we have at our fingertips. If you have even a small bit of land, plant trees and grow food, plant a climate victory garden. If you can vote, vote in every single election. In the last presidential election, around 10 million registered environmentalists failed to vote, more than enough to flip the outcome. Do not let that happen again. If you have special skills, put them to use. Make art to inform and inspire. Use law for climate justice. Create websites to help us organize. Cook meals to nourish activists. Throw parties to build community. If you have money or hours to spare, donate it to groups like Youth Climate Strike, Zero Hour, Extinction Rebellion, and Sunrise Movement. If you eat and feed others, choose foods that are grown regeneratively, restoring carbon in the soil where it belongs. And continue to show up and raise your voices. We have to transform culture. So talk about climate change with your friends, colleagues, neighbors, church, school, sports team, family. We cannot mobilize at the scale we need to unless we face this existential challenge head on, together, with clarity, grounded in science and empathy, and focused on solutions. Building community around solutions is the most important thing. We must build a coalition so massive that we shift the status quo and no longer need to march. In 1967, here in New York City, Dr. Martin Luther King gave a speech against the Vietnam War. And those remarks could not be more apt for this context and this moment. So I will close with Martin Luther King's words. We are now faced with the fact that tomorrow is today. We are confronted with the fierce urgency of now. In this unfolding conundrum of life and history, there is such a thing as being too late. Procrastination is still the thief of time. Over the bleached bones and jumbled residue of numerous civilizations are written the pathetic words, too late. There is an invisible book of life that faithfully records our vigilance or our neglect. Now let us begin. Let us rededicate ourselves to the long and bitter but beautiful struggle for a new world.